1849. The California Gold Rush. Written by Cynthia Kennedy Hensel. Focus question. What was the effect of the gold rush on westward expansion? Gold. On the morning of January 24th, 1848, James Marshall went to inspect the new mill his crew was building. In the mill's water, he spotted something shiny. He collected several pieces and showed his crew. They tested the pieces. It was gold. 4 days later, Marshall went to show John Sutter, who owned the mill. Sutter had no wish to be overrun with gold hunters. Everyone agreed to keep the secret. Gold had been discovered in California. Keeping a secret. In 1848, the world was very different from today. There were no phones, TVs, or radios. There were no roads or railroads connecting California with the states in the East. It was harder to get a message from the East Coast to California than it is to get a message to Mars today. At the time of Marshall's discovery, California belonged to Mexico. 9 days later, Mexico signed a treaty that gave California to the United States. Neither side knew about the gold. The secret got out when Sam Brannan found out. Brannan had a store at Sutter's Fort, where John Sutter lived. Brannan wanted to cash in when he heard the news, but he wasn't interested in mining. Instead, he bought all the shovels in San Francisco. Then he filled a bottle with gold dust and ran through the streets yelling about the great discovery. The city of 850 people almost emptied after Brannan sold them each a very expensive shovel. Panning. Unlike in most places, the gold in California was not locked deep under the ground. Erosion had long ago washed the metal down the mountains into the rivers. All people needed for placer mining was a shovel and a shallow, flat pan. Placer mining works because gold is much heavier than gravel. The prospectors stood in the rivers and shoveled gravel into their pans. They removed large rocks, then carefully swirled the pan. The dirt and gravel spilled over the edges with the water. The shiny flakes of gold stayed at the bottom of the pan, word-wise. The term prospector comes from the gold rush. It means a person who moves to a spot with the prospect or possibility of finding gold and making a fortune. People from California and Oregon soon showed up to work the rivers near Sutter's Mill. Some of them were European, and some were Native American. Others came from Mexico. Next came prospectors from South America and Asia. At that time, it was easier to get to California from China than from the East Coast. Equal opportunity? As the hills filled with prospectors, white miners began to oppose other groups hunting for gold, especially the Chinese. California taxed foreign miners $20 a month to prospect. White prospectors sometimes forced them from the mines. For Native Americans, the gold rush was awful. It opened the gateways to the West, forcing huge numbers from their homes. In California, about 120,000 Native Americans died of illness, starvation, or murder during the gold rush. The 49ers. Back in the eastern states, gold fever didn't take hold until 1849. That year, 90,000 people joined the gold rush. These were the 49ers. Many gold seekers were clerks, teachers, or lawyers. 9 out of 10 were men. Many couldn't cook, wash a shirt, build a shelter, or harness oxen to pull a wagon. Many left behind families. They planned to quickly make a fortune and come home. Around the tip. About half of the 49ers decided to go by ship. More than 500 ships left eastern and Gulf ports in 1849 for California. Ships took from 5 to 8 months to sail from the East Coast around the tip of South America and back up to California. Word-wise, gold fever was the greed and contagious excitement brought on by the discovery of gold. The cheapest ticket was $75, about $2,300 in today's money. This price bought a tiny bunk in the dark, crowded bottom of the ship. Food was just as bad. The 49ers suffered shipwrecks, seasickness, and disease. Yet many reported that the worst things were crowding and boredom. Some decided to save time by taking a shortcut through Panama. They could canoe and hike across 60 miles, 97 kilometers, of jungle, then catch another ship. These 49ers faced deadly snakes and mobs of mosquitoes. Many fell ill. If they made it across, they might wait weeks or months to catch a ship on the other side. Wagons ho! It took about the same amount of time to get to California by wagon. Many looked forward to the adventure almost as much as finding gold. The adventure, however, could prove deadly. Wagons followed the California Trail across the flat prairie. A wagon could go about 15 miles, 24 kilometers a day, if it didn't break down, if there wasn't much rain, and if the oxen stayed healthy. Next, the 49ers had to get the wagons up mountains, across rivers, and down steep cliffs. If they weren't fast enough, they were slowed by blizzards in the high passes. They also crossed deserts with no water. For many, their greatest fear was clashes with Native Americans. But death came from disease, starvation, and accidents. Often, the 49ers carried disease with them as they drove their wagons the 2,100 miles, 3,380 kilometers, to California. Thousands died. By the fall of 1849, the trail was lined with dead oxen and graves. The losers, the winners. For those who made it to California, life did not get easier. The prospectors lived in mining camps made of tents and rough shelters. They ate poorly. They worked 12 hours a day shoveling gravel or breaking rocks with picks. Many fell ill, but they kept working. The next pan of gravel might be worth a fortune. Prices gone wild. 49ers could get what they wanted for a steep price. Here's what some items cost in 1849 San Francisco and in 2016 dollars, adjusted for inflation. 1849, 2016. 1 can of peas, $6 equals $181. 1 egg, $1 equals $26. One breakfast, $43 equals $1,294. 1 pound, 0.45 kilograms of coffee, $3 equals $103. 1 mule, $360 equals $10,835. 1 pair of boots, $96 equals $2,890. According to the Sacramento Bee, 1 in every 5 miners who came to California in 1849 was dead within 6 months. Even those who found gold often lost it to robbers, gambling, or paying high prices for everyday goods. Good prospects, bad endings. Several of the men involved in the original discovery of gold ended up with nothing to show for it. John Sutter lost his golden property when the United States would not recognize his land grant from Mexico. He died broke. So did James Marshall. Sam Brannan made his fortune, then lost it all, due in part to a bad temper. He died broke too. Some early prospectors were successful. Once the placer gold was gone, though, most of the riches from gold went to large companies. They were able to dig deep mines. Entrepreneurs made a fortune by selling to the miners. Sam Brannan became one of the first millionaires in America. Levi Strauss made his fortune selling pants tough enough to handle the work, blue jeans. Women especially had many more opportunities in the West. They started businesses cooking, running boarding houses, and washing clothes for the prospectors. The biggest winner was the United States. The gold rush brought about 300,000 people to California in a few years instead of a few decades. In 1850, California became a state. By 1863, the country began building the railway that would link east and west. Today, California has more people than any of the other 49 states. It has a huge economy, and it still lives up to its nickname, the Golden State. Connections. Writing. Write a paragraph explaining what the author wants readers to learn from the Prices Gone Wild chart on page 13. Social studies. Create a timeline of the California gold rush.